second biggest festival, Deepavali, has gripped the entire nation as the countrymen across the country are busy with Tihar celebrations. Despite the arduous nature of Nepalese lifestyle, it's good to see the countrymen wholeheartedly embracing these age-old cultures. Good morning, I'm Amar Singh Pradhan. Let's begin with the top stories this hour. Deepavali celebration continues as Kukur Tihar being observed across the country. Lakshmi Puja to be celebrated in the evening today itself. Remittance drops by 447 million rupees in the first 2 months of the current fiscal year. The drop comes despite an increase of final labor permits. Survey works begins to expand LPG and petroleum pipelines to Chitwan from Motihari. 25 billion rupees projected as the project's total expenditure. And Chelsea register a comfortable 4-2 victory over Burnley in the English Premier League. Christian Pulisic becomes the youngest Chelsea player to score a hat-trick. Nepalese across the country are celebrating Kukur Tihar in the morning today by worshipping dogs and offering food. In the evening, they will worship Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, and perform Lakshmi Puja. Dogs are the most loyal friends to human beings, and they are regarded as the symbol of Yama, the god of death. Dogs, both with homes and those without, are celebrated and thanked for their friendship and loyalty on this day. They are offered garlands and delicious food to acknowledge the close relationship between people and dogs. Nepalese will observe the Lakshmi Puja in the evening by worshipping the goddess of wealth. The night of Lakshmi Puja is also known as Sukharatri, or the night of bliss or happiness, and it is believed that goddess Lakshmi comes to reside inside homes today. Nepalese clean and decorate their houses with colorful lights and await boiler troops in the evening. According to the Nepal calendar, this year the dates overlapped, and as a result both Kukur Tihar and Lakshmi Puja fell on the same day. And let's move on to other political news. The main responsibility of Constitutional Council, chaired by the Prime Minister, is to recommend the appointment of its officials. However, the Council has not met for a long time and is yet to utilize its rights of appointing heads and officials of 5 different commissions. The Women's Commission is without its officials for the past 4 years, while 4 other commissions are yet to get its final say. Shortly after being appointed as the chairperson of the National Inclusive Commission, Santa Raj Subedi resigned, citing lack of resources and unfavorable environment to implement the allocated rights, rendering the commission without its head for the past 4 months. Lack of officials, infrastructures, and failure of the Constitutional Council to implement the appointments have barred the commissions to perform its designated tasks. The Constitutional Council, that includes the Prime Minister, Chief Justice, Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Chairman of the National Assembly and the Chairperson of the opposition party, is a powerful unit to recommend political appointments. As the Chairman, it is the responsibility of the Prime Minister to propose officials and reach agreements on appointments. However, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has not been able to furnish decisions to carry out appointments. Experts say that despite having the heads of executive, judiciary and the legislature, the failure of the council to carry out its designated tasks shows the height of responsibility and a lackluster approach by the government. Former Vice Chancellors have expressed their discontent after the Ministry of Education announced vacancies to appoint new Vice Chancellors in 6 universities. The Ministry's move, however, comes after 6 of the 7 committees formed to recommend Vice Chancellor failed to recommend a single candidate. The former Vice Chancellors say that the Ministry's advertisement was against the law and that it was being done merely to meet political appointment. The Prime Minister has formed 7 3-member committees under the chairmanship of the Minister of Education in 7 state-run universities to recommend the names of Vice Chancellor for their respective universities. However, apart from the Tribhuvan University, 6 committees of 6 different universities have failed to recommend the names for the post of Vice Chancellor. The Ministry of Education had called for the vacancies on Thursday and Saturday. According to a member of the recommendation committee, the vacancy was called to widen the spheres of prospective vice-chancellors. On 4th of October, the committee formed to recommend the new vice-chancellor of Tribhuvan University had recommended 3 candidates for the post of vice-chancellor. The 3 candidates were Dr. Bhagwan Koirala, Dr. Dharma Kanta Baskota and Chandramani Paudel. All the 7 universities have been without their vice-chancellors for over 2 months now. This has affected the academic and administrative works of the universities. Experts say that the committees, which are headed by the Minister of Education himself, must work seriously to appoint new vice-chancellors without further delay. And we'll take a short break here for more news. Do stay with us. Remittance has been playing an important role in Nepal's economy for quite some time now. However, compared to the first 2 months of last fiscal year, remittance has decreased in the first 2 months of the current fiscal year. In the first 2 months of the last fiscal year, migrant workers sent 154.2 billion rupees as remittance. This was a 33% increase from the first 2 months of the 2016 and 17 fiscal year. However, in the current fiscal year, remittance has dropped by 447 million rupees. According to Nepal Rashtra Bank, migrant workers sent home 153.7 billion rupees in the first 2 months of the current fiscal year. Experts say that remittance saw a decline as labor export to Malaysia had stalled for more than a year.
जस्तो ट्रान्सफर पैसा मनी ट्रान्सफर गर्नेमा इलिगल जुन भूमिकार थिए त्यसलाई कन्ट्रोल गर्नमा पनि आएका थिए त्यो 81 बढेको देखिन्छ गत वर्ष यस वर्ष खास गरी एक नम्बर कारण चाहिँ मलेसियाको चाहिँ यो बीचमा 15-16 महिना जुन बन्द भयो त्यो कारण नै हो र दोस्रो कारण भनेको अरु देशहरुमा पनि गत वर्षहरु जस्तो चाहिँ नम्बर अफ माइग्रेन्ट नेपालीहरु जाने क्रम चाहिँ घटेको देखिन्छ त्यसकारणले पनि घटेको.
In the first 2 months of the current fiscal year, the number of people receiving their final labor permit increased by 0.2%. Likewise, migrant workers who had reapplied for work increased by 10%. In the same time frame in last fiscal year, the percentage of people receiving final labor permit had dropped by 41%, and those reapplying for jobs outside the country had dropped by 9.8%. The decrease of remittance despite more migrant workers has raised doubts if more people were using hundi to send money home. The drop in remittance nonetheless poses a threat to the country's remittance-based economy.
यही प्रवृत्ति पछि पनि रहिदियो भनेदेखि त्यसले चाहिँ खतरा ल्याउन सक्छ भन्ने कुरा हो. किनभने आम उपभोग चाहिँ घटेर गयो भने है त्यसले के हुन सक्छ भने आयात घट्छ. आयात घट्यो भने मतलब सरकारको लागि राजस्व घट्ने कुरा हुन्छ हैन. अब यो भइदियो भनेदेखि चाहिँ समस्या आउन सक्ने परिस्थिति चाहिँ रहन्छ.
Experts say that if this trend is to continue, it would affect the country's economy. They say that the government must create employment within the country. The Nepal Oil Corporation is planning to build LPG petroleum pipeline from Motihari to Chitwan to ease storage and reduce the transportation cost involving fuel import. After the success of the 38.5 kilometer Motihari-Amlekganj petroleum pipeline, the Nepal Oil Corporation is planning to connect Motihari-Amlekganj petroleum pipeline to Lothar in Chitwan district. This tunnel will measure 62 kilometers. Likewise, the NOC is also planning to build another 98 kilometer petroleum pipeline from Motihari to Chitwan to transport liquefied petroleum gas or LPG. The government is planning to do so to increase storage of fuel as well as to reduce transportation cost. The two projects are likely to cost a total of 25 billion rupees. Current estimates show that the petroleum pipeline project from Amlekganj to Lothar will cost 10 billion rupees, while the pipeline from Raksaul of India to Lothar will cost 15 billion rupees. The exact cost, however, will be known only after the completion of the detailed project report or the DPR. The project's deadline is within 30 months or 3 years. Upon completion, the pipelines will be able to transport 290 kiloliters of petroleum products in an hour and 100 tons of LP gas in an hour. The project office in Nagdunga Tunnelway has asked for additional 1 billion rupees from the government, citing inadequate compensation amount. The project was inaugurated earlier this week with the objective of accomplishing it in 3.5 years. As per the project office, the extra compensation is required for the acquisition of additional land which is necessary to construct additional 600 meters of flyover. The government has already spent 4.75 billion rupees in compensation itself to construct the 2.68 kilometers of tunnelway from Kathmandu's Kisipiri to Dhading's Sisnekola. Despite inauguration by the Prime Minister himself, the land acquisition works are yet to be accomplished. The decision for allocating money for extra compensation should be taken by the Cabinet. The project document is currently at the Ministry of Physical Infrastructure and Transport. The compensation amount can be increased by 1 billion rupees only after the Cabinet approves the document on the recommendation of the Ministry. Besides, 15% of the compensation for the land acquired so far in Kathmandu has yet to be distributed. The process of acquiring 40 ropanis of land in Dhading is yet to be initiated. The decision in this regard has been delayed due to most of the said land owners along the project site don't even own ownership certificates, and the others are registered as Guti lands. The obstacles regarding acquisition of lands for the proposed tunnelway thus has cast doubts if the project would complete in the stipulated deadline. And we have more news coming up, but right now it's time for another short break. And in our public voice segment, we had asked the residents of Sindhupalchok district how transparent have been the development works carried out by the local government. Let's take a look at what they have to say.
Public voice.
ग्रामीण सडकहरुमा चाहिँ अहिले केन्द्रीय सरकार प्रदेश सरकार र स्थानीय तहहरुले चाहिँ एकदम राम्रो बजेटहरु चाहिँ विनियोजन गरिराखेको अवस्था पाइन्छ र ती बजेटहरुबाट चाहिँ कसरी कामहरु भइराखेको छ त्यसको चाहिँ लेखाजोखा भएको जस्तो देखिदैन।
स्थानीय सरकारमा बजेट आयो भन्छन्, अब त्यस्तो अब सबैलाई थाहा हुनुपर्ने त्यस्तो केही हामीहरुलाई चाहिँ थाहा नै छैन।
वार्डमा या पालिकामा सूचना जस्तो यो ठाउँमा यति रकम पर्यो, यो ठाउँमा यस्तो काम भयो भनेर चाहिँ सूचना चाहिँ गर्नु पर्थ्यो।
कार्यक्रमहरु गर्छ भन्छन्, अहिलेसम्म हामीलाई सूचना छैन, हामीलाई थाहा छैन। एक दिन हामीलाई कहीँ बोलाउने गर्ने छैन कहीँ पनि।
नगरिएसम्म त रकम निकासै हुँदैन, गर्छ नै, तर यो जनमानसमा चाहिँ उनीहरूले पुर्याउन नसक्नु उनीहरूको कमजोरी हो।
And it's now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And the question is, what's your take on the government's decision to take dual criteria on appointing vice-chancellors in universities? Your options are A, lack of clear policies, B, to pave ways for irregularities, and option C, attempts of improvement. The voting for the question is on. Type any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And let's move on to sports update.
Sports news.
Christian Pulisic scored a hat-trick as Chelsea thumped Burnley 4-2 in the English Premier League at Turf Moor late last night. The USA international Pulisic scored a perfect treble to become the youngest Chelsea player to score a hat-trick in the English Premier League as the Blues romped into a 4-goal lead shortly into the second half. It could have been 5, but VAR overruled a penalty decision after Callum Hudson-Odoi was adjudged to have dived in the box. Jay Rodriguez and Dodd McNeil struck late on for host Burnley to make the scoreline more respectable. This is Chelsea's 6th consecutive victory. In other matches played last night, Manchester City defeated Aston Villa 3-0, while the 3 other matches featuring Brighton versus Everton, Watford against Bournemouth and West Ham against Sheffield United ended in stalemates. The All Nepal Football Association was aware of the regulations of the Asian Football Confederation club licensing processes, but it ignored the provisions while issuing club license to A-division clubs of the country. As the regulatory body of Nepal football, NFA could have easily made it mandatory for A-division clubs to meet the required criteria. This, however, is not the case. Any clubs without acquiring the license are not allowed to play in the AFC club. NFA had recommended 14 clubs for the A-division, but the AFC provided license to 9 clubs. However, the AFC later found that none of the clubs met the criteria. The NFA has been repeatedly imposed with hundreds and thousands of rupees of fines due to the carelessness of a few office bearers. The AFC's fine of $35,000 on Friday is the latest case. The AFC has also threatened to suspend Nepal's regulatory body in football for about 2 years if it repeated the mistake again. NFA is accused of submitting falsified document to the AFC which showed that all the A division clubs had met the required criteria. It is stated that all the licensed clubs had its own training field and academies. And now time for our special segment, Round the World.
Hong Kong's legislature formally withdrew the controversial extradition bill that sparked months of unrest. The bill, which would have allowed for criminal suspects to be extradited to mainland China, prompted outrage when it was introduced in April. Hundreds of thousands of people took to the streets and the bill was eventually suspended, but protesters continued regular demonstrations which spiraled into a wider pro-democracy movement. Critics called it the worst crisis for Hong Kong since the former British colony was handed back to China in 1997. The bill's formal withdrawal meets only one of 5 key demands emphasized by some protesters. The other demands put forth by protesters are for the protests not to be characterized as a riot, amnesty for arrested protesters, an independent inquiry into alleged police brutality, and implementation of complete universal suffrage. Pro-democracy activists are preparing to demonstrate for the 21st straight weekend as unrest spreads around the globe from South America to Europe and the Middle East. Bodies of 39 people were found in a lorry container in Essex, southeast of England. BBC reported at least 6 of the 39 people found dead in the refrigerated trailer may have been from Vietnam. A man was earlier arrested at Stansted Airport on suspicion of manslaughter and conspiracy to traffic people. The 48-year-old from Northern Ireland is the 4th person to be arrested in connection with the investigation. 2 people from Warrington and the lorry driver Mo Robinson have been in custody.
And here's a look at the top stories one more time. Deepavali celebration continues as Kukur Tihar being observed across the country. Lakshmi Puja to be celebrated in the evening today itself. Country's remittance drops by 447 million rupees in the first 2 months of the current fiscal year. The drop comes despite an increase of final labor permits. Survey begins to expand LPG and petroleum pipelines to Chitwan from Motihari, 25 billion rupees projected as the project's total expenditure. And Chelsea register a comfortable 4-2 victory over Burnley in the English Premier League. Christian Pulisic becomes the youngest Chelsea player to score a hat-trick. And those were our latest headlines. Our next English bulletin will air at 11 a.m. Stay with us for more news and entertainment on KDBSD. Good day and happy Tihar.